Hey everyone, I'm ArmorGaming, welcome back to my channel and welcome to Monster Analysis. Up for analysis today is a nature legendary monster known as Drekk. This peaceful dragon is part of the forest. His incredible healing and protective powers are famous. If you want to get an extra bottle of his magical sap, bribe him with pancakes. What? Okay, here we have Drekk as a child, as a teen, as an adult. Overall, really enjoyed this monster design. I think all of the dragons had an amazing design. Good job, social point. But monster designs are one thing, let's talk about stats. For power, Drekk has 3069, and although that seems like an extremely low power, which by the way it is, in terms of nature legendary monsters, there are currently 16 of them, and this puts him in 11th place. Still, I do want to emphasize this power is pretty low. His life is 29,255, and in terms of legendary nature monsters, this puts him in 11th place along with Roasty. So overall his life, it's almost close to 30k, which is pretty good, but in terms of nature monsters, there are just so many tanky ones. As for his speed, Drekk has a speed of 3,454, which is actually one of the best speeds for nature monsters. This puts him in 3rd place. However, his stat alone, 3,454, that's actually the 2nd highest. The reason he's in 3rd place is because Lao Mu and Sarah actually tie for 1st place, so Drekk is extremely fast. As for his trait, he is immune to burning, which in my opinion is really not that great to have. Yes, burning is the best DOT in the game. However, if you're going up against the fire monsters, which are typically the ones that have burning skills, one attack from a fire monster with strength runes, and just about all fire monsters are attackers, you're pretty much done for. Now of course there are instances where having immune to burning can come in handy. For example, if an enemy monster was to do a skill that gave you a negative effect and it happened to be burning, you would just block it. Or if you're going up against metal monsters that have burning skills, you could block that, but still overall not a really good trait to have. As far as being a nature monster, immune to poison would have been better. For Drekk's skills, we have Leafy Pat, Nature Strike, and for the special we have Wind of the Forest. Deals very heavy nature damage to all enemies, may poison all targets. So this skill deals 65 damage to all of the enemy monsters, and it poisons all of them. Now in terms of the special being good, it is a good special, but in terms of Drekk having this special, I'm not sure what to say. Drekk, as I already mentioned, doesn't necessarily have the highest power. In fact, it's a rather low power, and because it is nature based, going up against another nature monster, it really isn't going to be doing that much damage. And that's really all I have to say about the special. So now we're moving down to skills group 1, and we have Florocure, Tree Stupor, Spinning Heads. And from these 3 skills, I do want to talk about Florocure really quickly. It heals 25% of your own life, it has a 1 turn cooldown, and it only costs 24 stamina. So that heal by 25% can definitely come in handy. And the only reason I'm talking about this skill is because he does have a single 40% heal skill, except it has a high 3 turn cooldown, whereas other monsters would only have like a 1 turn cooldown. There's other nature monsters that have that exact same skill, but a lot better. And the only reason I want to take the time to talk about Florocure is because there have been plenty of times in my team wars when it ended up being one nature monster versus one nature monster. So for some of you that find that happening to you quite often, this skill might be worth running. For a lot of you, probably not, and I understand that, but because this is an analysis, I do have to bring that up. And then really quickly, Spinning Heads, 50% chance of dazing all targets, heals of 10% by monsters targeted. I'm assuming that means whatever monsters you hit, you recover your life by 10%, or maybe it means even just targeting a monster, you'll heal by 10%. So if there's 3 enemy monsters alive, just using Spinning Heads, you'll recover 30% of your life, and it only has a 1 turn cooldown. This is an interesting skill. However, if it was to come down to one nature monster versus one nature monster, Spinning Heads would only recover you by 10% of your life, whereas Florocure would recover you by 25% of your life, so that's just something to keep in mind. Anyways, let's move on to skills group 2. We have Poison Knock. Deals heavy nature damage, may poison target, requires cooldown. This skill deals 50 damage to a single enemy, it costs 28 stamina, and it has a 1 turn cooldown, and the skill poisons. So there's nothing really much to say about this skill. You may or may not want to use it. It's one of your only offensive skills, so if you're making Drekk as a more offensive monster, even a hybrid monster, you probably would want to use Poison Knock. Moving on, we have Bark Remedy. Target heals by 40%, requires cooldown. So this skill's for a single ally, it costs 24 stamina, but it has a 3 turn cooldown, which in my opinion is pretty high. There are other nature monsters that can also heal a target by 40%, and the cooldown is nowhere near being 3 turns. This skill does have a huge advantage in that you can heal any of your allies, not just yourself. But even though I find the cooldown to be high, you really do want this skill. Being able to heal any of your allies by 40% will really come in handy. Next off, we have Fireproof Bark. All allies become immune to burning for 4 turns. So this skill is for all of your allies, costs 36 stamina, has a 4 turn cooldown, and it gives your whole team immunity to burn. So really this skill is only giving your teammates immunity to burn because you already have that as a default. Now there are certainly instances where this can come in handy. Say for example you had a really tanky monster and your opponent was able to burn that monster. Burn is a really strong damage over time skill that takes away 15% of your life for the following 3 turns. So if you were to give your monster immunity to burn, that would wipe away the burn. But other than that, I really don't find a use for this skill. so I actually wouldn't recommend it. Moving on, we have Circle of Life. Deals heavy nature damage, heals by 20%, requires cooldown. So this skill deals 50 damage, costs 27 stamina, has a 2-turn cooldown, and you do heal by 20% when you attack the enemy monster. Now, although I do like that you heal by 20%, I don't like that this is a nature-based attack. If it was a special-based attack, I would like it a lot more. And I'm bringing this back to the fact that there are so many team wars, in my personal experience and others' experience, where it comes down to one nature monster versus one nature monster. And if that is the case, Circle of Life isn't going to help you out too much. 50 damage against a nature monster is not going to help. The 2-turn cooldown isn't going to help. The only thing that's going to help is that healing by 20%. And once again, this is why I'm actually recommending some of you might want to consider running Cure, where you heal yourself by 25%. And it only has a 1-turn cooldown. But again, that's completely up to an individual basis. Circle of Life would certainly come in handy against other monsters that aren't nature. I would like to add though, 50 damage considering this monster power isn't too high. Next we have Homeopathy. All targets heal by 30%, requires cooldown. So this is a team recovery skill, 29 stamina, another high 4-turn cooldown, and all of your allies heal by 30%. Now, although the team heal by 30% is nice, in a team war involving nature and say common or uncommon and some other elements, chances are most of the time your third monster, whatever the rarity is, if it's not rare, epic, or legendary, chances are it is gonna die, in which case this skill wouldn't come in handy too much because you would really only be recovering 2 of your allies instead of all 3 of them, in which case having Bark Remedy, which can heal one of your allies by 40%, that would come in handy a lot more often. And again, both Bark Remedy and Homeopathy have a high cooldown, so that honestly sucks a little. So this skill, like other of his skills I've been saying, it's really going to differ on a player to player basis if you're going to want to equip this skill. For myself personally, I don't think I'd use this skill. And lastly, we have Leave Hammer. Deals heavy special damage, Mayday's target. And this is honestly possibly the best skill that Drekk has. You target a single enemy, it deals 50 damage, it costs 28 stamina, and the best part is that it has no cooldown. Thank you Drekk for having a no cooldown skill that is special based. And it even dazes, which is a nice extra effect because it reduces the enemy's accuracy by 25% and also reduces your power by 25%, so that's great. As I've said over and over, the main problem with Drekk is that he doesn't have the highest power, so this won't be dealing too much, but this will certainly be better than Circle of Life. So as for what skills to run on this monster, I would recommend Leave Hammer, Bark Remedy, Poison Knock, and as for the last skill, it's honestly up to you guys, whether it be Circle of Life, Homeopathy, or if you really do like Fireproof Bark and you want to use that, you're totally free to do so. For me personally, even if people disagree, I would probably run Cure. And as for what runes to use on this monster, when looking at his stats, there's quite a bit of options. Because this monster has a pretty good base speed, you'd give him 1 life rune and 2 strength runes, and that would certainly make Drekk usable in team wars where your nature monster needs to be an attacker. However, I do have to say there are way better nature attackers than Drekk. I don't even know if I can fully consider Drekk a nature attacker. Another rune option is just to give him 1 power rune, 1 life rune, and 1 speed rune, and that'll just balance out the stats nice and evenly. For team wars though, I really can't recommend using Drekk, and I'm gonna conclude by saying although Drekk has this nice amazing speed making him one of the fastest nature monsters, it really doesn't help that he doesn't have any skills to benefit. He doesn't have any immobilizing, he doesn't have a stun skill like other nature monsters, so that really sucks, and to an extent it makes his speed rather useless. Drekk does have some team healing skills, but they do have a high cooldown. As for offense, he has mediocre attacks with a really low power. So overall, I don't think Drekk is that great of a monster. And this is the part where you guys chime in. What do you guys think about Drekk? Is there any instances where you guys can find some use to him? What skill set would you guys use on Drekk? Let me know in the comments below. And like always, also let me know who you want me to analyze next. With that being said, I hope everyone has a great amazing day or a great amazing night. Remember to dream big and pursue your passions.